Good morning and welcome to another episode. My name is Gareth with Lekker Wine Tours. We create custom experiences, wine tasting experiences in East Texas. We are at a beautiful property here deep in East Texas in the Harleton area. We're at Enoch Stomp, which is one of our favorite destinations on our tours. Our customers really love coming here. We kind of use it as the crescendo in our day. And so we wanted to get the owners and get the staff here and talk a bit about the property, a bit about the history of this vineyard. So we have Jon and Altus with us, and we're going to get to know them a bit. So tell us about yourselves. How did Enoch Stomp come about?
Altus?
My name is Altus. I grew up in South Africa, 5 generations farmer there. Never thought I would come out to Texas to farm with wine one day. And then me and John's roads cross, and that's how we start planting the grapes.
How long ago was that?
That was 2000, and I think we met in 2003, 2002 at church, and then we started there in 2004.
And did you meet in South Africa or here in the States?
No, we met at John's wife, Shirley, she's a reverend, so we met at her class. She's giving classes on a Sunday.
Okay, here in East Texas?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And the conversation just started, here's what I do, here's what you do. Were you in the wine world?
So my story on that is both our children are about the same ages. So Gideon, Altus' son, and my son Jonah played basketball. So we would watch basketball practice and we'd talk, as parents do on the side. And then we talked about what Altus did, and Altus said, I'm a farmer, 5th generation from South Africa, moved to East Texas, moved to Houston first. Houston's too big, let's go to a smaller town. So they moved their family to East Texas. And that was more, in my opinion, Altus's heart, where he loves to be in a little more rural area. And then he started dabbling with doing some vineyards in different places. And I would dabble with roses and never really dabbled with vines until meeting Altus. So one day I said, hey Altus, what do you do? He said, I do this and do that. So show me. And he showed me, and I was enthralled by what he could create and how beautiful the place was. And so I said, all right, if you can grow the grapes at a place, then I will turn it into wine. And that's how it birthed.
Did you already own this property? Did it have other purposes?
Well, this had other purposes, not for us. So yeah, I went on the rampage and just looking all over East Texas for a place. And you'd think, well, do we want flatland near a main thoroughfare? Do we want a place that has some sort of character? And yes, the way I look at things, I wanted something that was really beautiful. And the vines themselves just create beauty, even on flat piece of land, such as Los Pinos. It's still beautiful, but I was wanting something that was a little more striking. So one day, just going with the realtor and checking out different places in East Texas, came up these hills and just said, this is the place. You get the chills, because when you come up the hills, you don't have any idea. When you get over, you see forever.
That's it.
Over the bayou. And that, so I couldn't get it out of my mind. So this place was the place that we wanted to get. At least that's how I felt. I don't know how you felt from the beginning about the place.
Yeah, and with the draination and beautiful of the hills and stuff, perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and this is a bit local, but there's a lot of similarities here to Stellenbosch and that Franschhoek area, where it's very green and luscious and striking views, big drastic geography. And so for those that know.
We just need the weather, less humid.
Yeah,
big difference.
And less cold weather like we've got the last week. So
Tell me about the name, Enoch Stomp. Very unique. Whose idea? Where did it come from?
You take this one too.
It's John's idea, I guess, and we want, or you want something to do with something out of the Bible and with grapes. His wife wants to do a retreat one day out there,
Yeah.
So the first name was Covenant, but not even one winery in the world can use the same name. So we have to change the name. So we've got like a week to get the names out of the Bible, and then we barbecue there at this place. And I didn't know it's so difficult to get the name, and at the end we decide on Enoch. So Jon can go on a little bit further about Enoch and explain. So
well, all right, so the name has a lot of stuff going on, and like Altus says, that we were named Covenant Vineyards at the first, but we didn't really pick the name. That name kind of picked us. We have to have something. We have to file, and let's just pick something. So that's what it was. We had a place called Covenant Properties that managed some properties. So let's just call it Covenant Vineyards.
Okay.
But again, not much thought into it. And well, thankfully that somebody in California had the name Covenant as well, and they didn't like that. So they sent us a letter to cease and desist.
Okay.
So then we went through the process. Okay, let's really think through this. And always in my head, I wanted to pick something more clever or more interesting. So in Enoch, there's 2 Enochs in the Bible. There's a bad one and a good one. So this hopefully is the good one. Yeah. So and it talks about it's in Genesis. There's a long line of people, on the way to Jesus, and there's Enoch, and Enoch is different because it says, and Enoch walked with God and then was no more. So you really don't know the story. So it's clouded in mystery, and the Enoch walked with God. The stomp is another way of walking. Yeah. And it was a bit of a stomp trying to figure out, what we wanted to do. It wasn't just easy. It was kind of hard work, and it fits with the grapes. So that was double play. And if you, the stuff is out there. If you see the names in some of our wines, there's a biblical reference, but we don't want to be in your face about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Yeah.
But there.
Yep.
Yeah. What about the evolution from 2004? Let's buy this property. Let's put some vines on it. And now you guys are one of the giants in East Texas. Happenstance, whether that's on purpose or not. What has that growth been like? Has that been the goal? Has growth been the goal, or is it just let's add to the property?
Such a good question. Well, let me just couch it in. It's a 20-year-old. It's like having an infant. An infant starts as a baby, and you don't know what it's going to turn into. Now we're 20 years into it, and there were the adolescent ages, and there were the teen ages, and now we're at it's growing into an adult, and it's a little more stable. But there's a lot of turbulence, a lot of good things, a lot of awesome things, a lot of potential. So I'm couching it in that. So all right, so Altus, say what you have said.
As I said, like Don said, we thought it would be a small winery. We will sit on the porch drinking a glass of wine, and then it just start growing until where it's now. I think we are like a medium winery, Texas. So, but yeah, from our point of view, that we thought it would be just small to where it's now, it's unbelievable. And it just spread by mouth, people tell one another, do some festivals and stuff. And
there's so much to say on that. And when the place that we're sitting in now is the event center, which we built, 8 years ago. Altus built it. I kind of designed it, which it's not the best design, but and we built it. That's kind of how we've done things out here. But before it was just a small little tasting room, like Altus said, and that was when it's in its infancy. And I'm doing this calculation, say, okay, if we can get the grapes, we could probably make it work in East Texas if we can turn the grapes into wine. Because you'll make about 7 times more in revenue if you can turn it to grapes to wine. And you think, gosh, we're going to be making money by just doing that. But then the in-between to get from grapes to wine, there's a lot of expenses that we just really didn't know what was going to happen. But where's I going with this? We're talking about...
just the evolution of it.
Yes. So I remember sitting in our small tasting room and thinking, if we can just sell 3 cases a month or something like that, we're going to be fine. And then the 3 cases turned into a dozen cases. Then a dozen turned into, so we're at 4,000 now. I need to do the math. That's 300, 400 cases a month. So much more than we ever really imagined. But again, I don't think we had a particular thought about what it was going to be. It just evolved into, and this is what you get with me is we're parents to this thing. Altus, let's stay small, let's just do this. And I think we can have you have to do food, and it grows and it grows and it grows. And so I take in the big chunk, and then other people come around. No, let's hone that in. Anyways,
What's really been cool is me growing up in East Texas. I moved from South Africa in 2005. My first visit here was 2006, I think, when we were picking grapes. And so I've been able to watch the growth and the buildings grow and the property develop, and so it's been very cool. Just not even to see it in real time. Just kind of been visiting along, so it's been an incredible journey from the outside looking in. I'm sure on the inside it's super special.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that you need to appreciate if you're a fan of us, is that we didn't set up saying we're going to be a winery that has high-end wines. If you came here 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it's much different. It changes, and we may have done peanut butter and jelly sandwiches 15 years ago, but now we're doing steak. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, we're trying to evolve and to be as perfect as we can over
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Enoch Stomp is evolving. We've just kind of discussed how the growth has been over the last 20 years. What is currently available? What experiences do you offer your guests today? There's the cabin, the restaurant, these villas that are popping up. Tell us about what people can expect when they show up.
Yeah, well, let me start and then you can finish. So when we first started here, this place was a horse ranch.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so there was a barn behind us, so we took the barn, turned it into a winery. We took the corral and made it side pieces in our current tasting room. So it started as a horse ranch, and then we just wanted to do wine. So let's get some wine made. Okay, before you have wine, you got to get grapes. Altus had already been doing some grapes at Newkirk's Vineyard, so we took those and processed them here back in the day, and that was a lot of fun. So we dug up our land, and then with the big bulldozer going down 6 feet, 12 acres, Altus did that, planted the grapes. So you got to wait 2, 3, 4 years before you get the grapes. So we had the barn turned into a winery. We took those grapes, made some wine, and that was where we started. And lo and behold, who comes out to taste the wine? Just locals and things like that. But they wanted food because you have to travel at least 20, 25 minutes from the nearest place. So then we started dabbling into food. So before we knew it, we went from a vineyard to a winery, which was in the plans. But then we said, okay, food. Our first food people were our friends. Hey, come. And that's why I was mentioning peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Literally, we had peanut butter, jelly sandwiches, and chips. But when you have people coming out for wine and you're serving peanut butter and jelly, you have to go a little next level. So then I'm a chef, I can help you. So that's kind of how it evolved.
Yeah.
And so now we have the tasting room, which serves food and pizzas and flatbreads and salads. And we have a separate restaurant, not by choice, but because we have 2 separate buildings. So we're serving higher end food in the restaurant. Okay, so take it from there. So we got into wineries, we got into vineyards, we got into restaurants, and then...
Yeah. So with the wines, like Jon, he really tried to educate the people about wines now. So we start to make like cabs from West Texas, from grapes from West Texas, grapes from East Texas, and grapes from Washington.
Wow.
So that people can taste the difference in the wines, get more educated. So Jon, he's the hard worker behind that. But so yeah, like he said, from peanut butter jelly sandwiches to good wines. And we've got new things like, there's a 5-kilometer run that's coming up here that we didn't have. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's incredible.
So it led to the restaurant, and then weddings. People wanted to do weddings, and you can't really do it in a smaller restaurant. So then we built the event center, which we're in now, and then all the barrels. You see, we started out with 6 barrels, and now you're at 200 barrels. Everything just evolves, and
Wow.
we've always wanted. We still want, which I want, a brand new winery on the top of the hill where you have a great lookout, and you can have the winery down below and a lookout area and a tasting room up above. But that's a big chunk of money. So before we got there, cabin. So we have some villas that are just built on one of our small lakes. And that was been a dream for 15 years. And we finally bit the bullet about 2 years ago, built those and renting those out. So you can come here and
Yeah,
stay.
because people, if they've got a wedding, so they ask, can they stay over? So we always send them to Jefferson now they can stay over.
Perfect.
So
Excellent.
and we've got the trailers that's coming out for harvest.
Harvest hosts, yeah.
So they start about a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just evolve with what
Yeah.
people kind of want, and you find that out as you go.
Yeah, that's really special. And I think that the growth that happens focused on the customer is always successful, just because you're loyal to your client base and they want to support you, and you building and growing and evolving is that show of support to those that have been.
Yeah, so the whole reason is when people come out here, we want them to relax, enjoy the
that's
view,
right.
the quietness, glass of wine and some food.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And speaking of, and I think that's one of our favorite reasons for promoting and making sure that our clients know about this place, is because when they come, the welcoming, the experience that we can almost guarantee that they're going to have, your staff is very, very well educated on the product as well as creating that relaxing environment. Is that by chance? Is that on purpose?
That's a great question.
yeah.
Go
As I said, it took a couple of years to get the right people in the right spots. When I farm, I always said, when I farm in South Africa, it took like 7 or 10 years to get. So, you know, it's coming and going, and we've got a really good personnel now that's trained good. And
Yeah, Altus was mentioning the grapes too, and it's the same sort of evolution. You know, for me, at the beginning of starting this, it was more of a hobby, and then it had to become more than a hobby. And part of that is you would just take which help you could get.
Yeah.
So you really didn't vet people. You just, oh, you want to help us? You've done some grapes. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
And that had to change, and that's changed our philosophy. So really, we talk about the grapes. When we first grew grapes here, we'll talk about it later, was just to grow grapes that grow well in East Texas. But you can only do so much with grapes that are not well known. So the evolution of grapes was, okay, let's get the grapes that most people know, the Vitis vinifera species, the Chardonnays, the Pinot Noirs, all those. So we had to change our philosophy. And the same thing with personnel. Instead of just letting people show up and work here, we decided, okay, we need to be intentional with that. And in the last 4, 5, 6 years it's been, we intentionally spend our money and our time and our effort on staff primarily. We still do the wine, but you have to have good wine first of all, and you have to have good food. Once you've done that, you still need the good service. You can't really succeed unless you have all 3 of those pillars in this business. Yeah.
And you've become a hospitality business, right? I mean, whether that's experience-focused industry, whether that's wine, whether that's an anniversary dinner. How many times does someone come thinking this is the lane that I'm going to stay in, and then there's so much vastness to where now you're creating return customers. It's really,
and it's so nice to talk to people and said, listen, it was our wedding 5 years or 10 years ago. Can you remember? So, and then I always come back, and customers that, you know, when they start coming back, that's a good sign that they are. So.
Yeah, and I'm not the most hospitable person. I think I'm kind and I like people, but I'm just not bubbly in that way. I think Altus is a little bit better at that, but recognizing that I don't do it well, we need to find people that do it well. So we hire people that are different than me or us in order to focus on that. But yeah, it's so crucial for people to come out here and have a good experience. And,
it is.
Yeah.
And it's happening. And it's consistent, which I think is really tough.
It's a credit to our staff, not credit to us.
Yeah.
At least not me.
Good job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys being supportive of our business. I think it works very well together. And so we're going to continue to bring our clients to your facility and have that experience. And hopefully they're enjoying it for years to come.
Great. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we get a drink too?
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I have to say it, please like and share these videos if you are enjoying them, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.